This is Tony, and I'll see you in the Tampa Morgue after this song. What's up? This is Tony, and you are listening to the Tampa Morgue. It is a Sunday, and we are here. It's been a busy week. I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Ed Webb. What is up, Ed? So Ed has forgot to unmute his microphone, which was my problem last week.
Yeah, I did.
How you doing?
I was actually pulling something up, motherfucker. Yeah, you got me.
How you
What's
doing,
up, Mr.
man?
Anderson? Good.
Doing good, man. Doing good.
I'm gonna fix that in post. I'm not fixing that one in post.
Nah, it's good. Keep it the way it is. We'll do it live, as they say, right? What is that? But that first track was Precipice from the Prophet of Doom album, which was like, what, 2001 on Crooked Records.
One of the few original Tampa bands still playing, believe it or not. I mean,
they've been around for a long fucking time.
If you think about when we were playing out, you know, all the bands that we played with, the Ulcers, a lot of those bands, they're not, I mean, they come out of retirement every now and then, but they're not playing consistently, where Precipice is still
going.
Yeah, man. Andy's a good dude.
Oh, Andy was in Hell Witch, Gardy Lou, and you also had Dave, Dave, Gardy Lou, Hell Witch, obviously Thrash Attack.
Yep.
But that song was actually Degeneration, which was actually on the first demo they did in '93 also, which was had 4 songs. I think that was called The Foundation. But yeah, they're still going. I believe that actually was recorded at Morrisound, and that's actually produced by Mark Prater, Ed, who we've worked with Mark Prater a shitload of times. Jim Morris, who you're working with now, and I think Ben Meyer actually had some producer credits on that also. But yeah, Precipice, they will be playing at the Tampa Death Fest, which is going on this upcoming weekend. And we're going to talk about that today. We actually have, at the end of the show, we have Eric Gran joining us, the promoter for the show. And we also have David from Fathom. I always want to make sure I'm saying this right, coming on today. Also, they will be playing at the event also. But, Ed, how you doing, man? What's going on with you?
Man, we did a long week of podcasts, man. It was
show with Josh was like 3 hours recorded
hours.
and 4 hours in total, and it was
that's a Joe Rogan episode right there, man.
Well, that episode was like, if you obviously we've had bands on, we've mostly covered music and stuff like that. But like with Josh obviously played in the scene with Grave Rot and some other stuff. We mentioned that he played with like Chaos and stuff, Last Sabbath. But with Josh, it was cool because there's a lot of people who are into like, a lot of people that listen to this kind of music also are into horror movies, and a lot of people collect shit. So I think if you're into that kind of stuff, it was a really good episode. I know myself, I was interested. I mean, he has, like I said, Josh has a crazy collection. I really appreciate him coming on. He fit in perfect.
That could have been a 6-hour episode. No doubt. I mean,
yeah,
because anybody, if you were a kid, we were all kids, obviously, we all collected shit. We all collected shit, whether it was toys, music. We watched horror films growing up. So, yeah, it was very intriguing, and he's a very knowledgeable dude in all that. So, yeah, it made for a great episode. And I can't wait to have him and like Vincent Crowley and a couple guys.
Yeah, I'd like to get those guys on together. Do like an October couple. Now that the season is getting close, I know even on this show we're working on some stuff now that we won't announce because we try not to like jinx ourselves. So we figure if we announce it before it's 100% or at least 98% confirmed, you just don't want to do that because it's like bad luck, I think. But we do have one thing we can confirm is we do have Blaine from The Accused, Toe Tag, Accused AD, The Farts. He's coming on Thursday, which we are very, very excited about. I know me and Ed always talk about The Accused, and it's going to be a killer show to be able to talk to him. But yeah, me and Ed have been talking about, we really want to get some actors on the show, some people in the horror business. And we're actually working on someone now who I believe is definitely going to be on, and he's like, right now he's probably, I don't know. I mean, if you look at, since when we were kids, there was like Jason, Freddy, Pinhead, the list goes on, of course, Leatherface. He's definitely how would you put it, Ed, horror icon right now in a way. I think he's turning into that or developing into that. So without saying who, we are working on that. We plan on trying to get a few of those guests on in October and in the future too. But we're definitely looking forward to the Blaine interview. I mean, shit, The Accused, how can you go wrong there?
Dude, I there were a lot of bands like that back then. I can think of 3 that were in that genre that I listened to on repeat, because, being a metalhead, but The Accused was one of them, Cryptic Slaughter, obviously, but that style of just chaos. And
for me, like his stage presence too, like Blaine's stage presence was a big influence. I thought, to me, it was like, he definitely stood out, I mean, he has a hell of a history. He went into like owning a restaurant, doing, he's still jamming, still playing. So it's going to be, I'm really excited to have him on the show. And like I said, I know Ed's a big fan of him too, because this is someone we've talked about for many years. And a lot of guys, you talk about influences and stuff just on the side, and Accused always pop up. So that's going to be pretty cool, man. I got to say, have you checked out I've only heard it. I think I've heard it like one. I know I've heard it once, so I think I'm on like 1.5 spins of it. But what do you think of the new Cannibal album, dude?
Yeah, man. Well, obviously I'm friends with those guys. Obviously I look up to George, and I'm obviously singing in a band that he started. So that's awesome. But I've toured with George and Alex and, all the guys. What's crazy is looking back when I toured with Cannibal, Eric was in Hate Eternal. We were on that tour. So now seeing Eric, who's an absolute fucking, I mean, dude, if you don't know Eric Rattan, I don't know, man, from Ripping Corpse, that's how I met him. And then of course, when he came down here and played with Morbid for all those years, opened his studio, made Hate Eternal, but I believe, and not that Cannibal Corpse, like, I'm not saying this like, oh, because he's in the band, but he adds a dynamic to the band that is just phenomenal. You know, they've always written killer stuff, obviously, but Eric and Rob, you know, with Alex, because Alex, you know, I've always said it, he's probably one of the best, you know, bass players in metal, period. Like, I've watched the guy practice, you know, not what he's doing with Cannibal. I mean, you know, and he just absolutely crushes. And Paul, very underrated drummer. A lot of people don't realize that dude is the beat keeper. Like, you know what I mean? You know, you get all these flashy drummers that are out there playing 5,000 fills per second, but listen to the Cannibal record. Paul is just fucking in the pocket, on time, and that whole record is just heavy as fuck.
And it
I'm
was
impressed,
recorded at
man.
Mana too. I thought it was. I mean, I'm pretty much. You kind of knew it was going to be recorded at Mana, but it was recorded at Mana Studios. Um, they
And
put
you
out a
know
few
what? That's
videos.
awesome because, you know, with Eric, you know, what happens when you get in the studio? You're on a time crunch, so you're rushing shit. And a lot of times, sometimes you'll just say, fuck it, that's good enough, right? Well, when you own the studio, you're able to perfect every fucking little thing, man. And that's, you know, that's a bonus. You know, I know there's an element to being like pure, but you know, when you own the studio, you can make the most polished album ever. You know what I mean? And it sounds polished. I mean, everything, even George's vocals are like just, I mean, everything sounds, you know, pristine. If you listen to it, you know what I'm talking about. I mean, the videos are killer that they're putting out,
Yeah, I
you
think they
know.
have 3 videos out for that, right?
Yep. They just put out
Bloodlines,
the title
Summoned for
track, the Chaos.
Sacrifice, Chaos
Yep.
Horrific.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was a great video. You know, gory, very gory. So yeah, it's Cannibal, man. Definitely digging those dudes. I think they're out with Mayhem right now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I do believe so. Also, and we were talking about earlier. What you have? What's his? Kelly just put out a new record.
Yeah, Kelly Schaefer from Atheist. Yeah, he put out a band called Till the Dirt. And yeah, man, got to tell you, I've always been a fan of Kelly's vocals because he was different. You know, Atheist was a different animal. Like, you know, you have John Tardy, who's got like one of the most unique death metal voices, like for that style. You know, and of course, Glenn had Glenn's vocals, and you know, on and on. But Kelly, you know, at first he played guitar and sang, which, you know, and he plays the guitar left-handed, so that makes it even, you know, in my eyes, I'm like, man, that's so fucking unique. And he was singing. The first time I saw Atheist, um, Voivod was supposed to play with Violence and Testament at the fairgrounds, and I'm talking Atheist as Atheist. I saw him as Ravage, but you know, Atheist. I might have saw him at the Sunset Club maybe once as Atheist. I can't remember, but when I really saw them on a big stage was when they opened for Testament, and I remember watching them shred and Roger Patterson, and I was just like, dude, this is fucked. I don't even want to play anymore because Roger Patterson was, yeah, I would venture to say kind of like a Cliff Burton thing. If they were around today, what they would have done, it would be amazing. But yeah, he put out an album called Till the Dirt, and what I like about it is, you know, back in the day, um, when he left the Atheist, you remember he formed like a, what we call it, a new metal. Is that what we would call that?
Oh, that's yes. That was what? What year was that? That was probably
Probably it
God
was
two
probably early
thousand.
2000. It was late 80s. Neurotica, and they were on Ozfest. I saw them on Ozfest, and I was like, "Damn, dude, you know, you're killing it. You're playing Ozfest." And if I'm not mistaken, they played the Ozfest when Black Sabbath reunited, because I saw them down in Fort Lauderdale. I think it was Fort Lauderdale, West Palm, one of those two. But yeah, so Kelly could sing, like sing. You know, he had a great voice.
They were great
So,
at the Metal Fest. I thought also the one at the
oh
Cuban Club
man,
that we
they
played.
crushed. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
And I had the opportunity to play with them a couple other times. We saw them. They played at the Maryland Death Fest right before we went on, and I was watching them, and they just crush, man. They're just Plus on the cruise, they played a couple times on the cruise, 70,000 tons. So yeah, but he put out this record and he's mixing both of his styles of vocals, man. He's screaming his head off, unique screaming. I mean, not the typical atheist. It's different. So yeah, and then he's singing parts, and he intertwined it very, very well. Props to Kelly. He put out a crushing record.
He also owned a club over there in the Sarasota area for a while too.
Yeah, Kelly's Live, I think it was called for a while. I don't remember if they changed the name after, but I believe it was Kelly's Live for a while. I think that was what it was called.
It was called, yeah, Kelly's Live. Yes, that's what it was.
Yeah. I never got to play there, man. There were twice that we were supposed to do something, and it never happened. So, but yeah, no, it sucks because Sarasota is a pretty, good area. I don't know what they have available venue wise now, but yeah.
I lived in Siesta Key for probably maybe a year. And, me and my buddy actually were running a pizza shop up there. This was many, many, many years ago. We basically ran it for some guy from St. Louis, whatever. But I remember Siesta Key was such an expensive area. I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, it's a beautiful little area.
It's a tourist place. It's a tourist place, man. So it's going to be expensive.
Yeah, it was definitely a pricey place. But the sunsets, they had like all the drum circles out there and shit. It was like a big deal. It was like, but it was definitely a pretty area. But yeah, beautiful. So Kelly definitely, it'd be great to have Kelly on one day also, and anybody that wants to go back to some of our other shows, we have, what do we have? 11 episodes up so far?
We do.
Yeah, we have, so episode 11 is with Josh from Grave Rot and V&C Collectibles. Then we have episode 10 was Lord Ahriman from Dark Funeral. Episode 9 was just me and you catching up. I think we had taken a week off that time period. You had been going to the studio, and so you just went to Mexico or some shit like that. There was something going on.
Yeah. Yep.
And then episode 8, we had Bobby Gustafson on, which was, totally, if you like Overkill or Violence or any of the old school like thrash from then, to me that was a great episode.
I'm anticipating that new record too. I want to hear it.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested. I can't wait. I hope Bobby really gets back into where he wants to be. The guy's definitely a player, man, and it'd be great to see him back on the stages. Episode 7, we did basically the 1985 time period. Then episode 6 was Vincent Crowley, which that's another episode. I think it was a killer episode, a good time, and really appreciate him coming on because that was another one that could have lasted like 3 or 4 hours. Correct. My kid's calling me. You hear this outside. And then wait 1 second, and I'm going to actually 1 second here. Okay. My kid is at the garage calling me, as you can hear, everybody. I have a 4-year-old, and I made the mistake and left the door open. But, so yeah, we had Vincent on, and then episode 5 we did all the album covers, cover art, which I thought was cool. Not all of them, but we just kind of went over a bunch of them. And I'm always a big fan of the album art, and how could you not be, especially back in
the 80s. That's why we bought records. Most of the records we bought was because of the album art.
That was a huge selling point. And what we had, episode 4, which was Pat from Hell Witch, which another one was very cool. Pat was our first interview actually on this show, and you couldn't ask for a better guy to get on. I mean, Pat was totally, I don't know, like I said, for the first interview, he was definitely a good one to have here. Episode 3, that was actually, which we're going to do again today, is going to promote the Tampa Bay Death Metal Fest that's coming up this weekend at the Brass Mug. And then let me see here. 2, we just went over, the first 2 episodes were kind of us just getting our feet wet, kind of trying to figure out. Man. Yeah.
Listen, we never, anybody who's asked, because I never even promoted this thing because, we didn't know what we were doing. We were just doing this because, as we've said 1,000 times already, me and you talk every day. You're 7 hours away. We talk every day pretty much. And we talk about the stupidest shit. And your wife was like, why don't you guys go do something instead of sitting on the phone, which we talked about podcasting or doing something, a while back. And it just, And I'm glad, because honestly, now I look forward to this. It's like something
It's
that's
like hanging
killer.
out as much as we can, being so far away, because
We're
we're
hanging out
also,
with people that we may never talk to, really. You know what I mean?
yeah.
There's some, like, let's be realistic. Blaine's in Seattle. Um,
That's
a
the
guy
hardest
like
part,
that,
though, right? Is scheduling up the times, because you got me ahead 7 hours, or yeah, ahead 7 hours. Blaine's
and then
behind ten
Blaine 3 hours
hours.
behind me, so
Yeah,
10 hours
you're
behind you. So yeah, it's definitely going to be a pain in the butt to do some scheduling. But you know what? You just make it work, and it's fun. We're not, this isn't stressful. I don't look at it as like,
no. If someone
oh
doesn't
my
want to
God.
come on, they don't have to come on. No one said no to us at all. Everyone's been so cool, but yeah, we're not here to like, we're how would you put it? We're not here to worry if someone doesn't want to be on here, they don't have to come on. Like I said, we haven't had that happen yet, and if people
Well,
don't,
and honestly, you know, this is, we're doing this we're not in a studio. We're doing this at our house. So
yeah,
you're going to hear dogs barking. You're going to hear kids talking, because you know why? This is real. We're not, when we get to the point to where we can be in the studio like Joe Rogan, then sure, it'll be awesome.
I
But
turned my garage into a studio, and it's pretty. I have to say,
yeah,
but
well,
it's
that's what I
definitely
did. I turned you see my bikes in the back. This is where I do my bike stuff. And I got my sauna over here where I go and sit in my sauna. And, it's an office / work area, and it's dedicated to doing whatever I want. This is where I record my vocals when I'm doing scratch shit. So it's cool, man. This is, we're just riffing, man. We're having fun. I'm getting to talk to people that I probably wouldn't, I might see them at a show or something, or at a festival. But now when we see them later, they'll remember, because, when we do this, that was the flavor that we talked about, was we weren't going to do the typical bullshit interviews where, is this your favorite? What's your
what's your
favorite
dream
band?
lineup?
What's
Yeah,
your,
like
is this your best record ever? No, we don't. We go, and that's one thing I got to tell, Tony does 99.9% of the work. I'm just a hanger-oner. I'm like a skin tag
no.
under his arm.
Well, the nice thing
Um,
for us is we grew up listening to a lot. Like a lot of it, we know a lot. It's just obviously you don't know everything because there's so much shit, and we're getting older. And I burnt out my brain through the years a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. So it's kind
yeah.
of like
Well, some of the people will get on, will know. I mean, I knew
like
Vincent
Gustafson
very
was an
well.
easy. Gustafson was a pretty easy interview just because we
Correct.
grew up.
But not knowing him, you would think when we were talking that we kind of knew the dude. Like Vincent was easy because I've known Vincent for, you know, he was 17. I think I was 15, in that range. Somewhere around there. So, I mean, God, I'm fucking old.
It happens,
Wow.
right? I mean, shit.
Wow. When I said it like that, it just made me sound real old. But yeah, I mean, we're just riffing, dude. And, we're trying to also help the local scene. They got a metal fest coming up. So, bring in some people on. Maybe somebody doesn't know who their band is. Maybe, there's some people out here that really do some killer music. And unless you're here local, you don't know who they are. Sure, everybody knows who Venom Inc. and Satan, but you don't know Precipice. You don't know, Fathom. You don't know 90% of these bands that are playing in Tampa, because some of them will never branch out. They're just going to play here,
And
and some of them
Precipice, I get
will.
them like we were talking about them earlier. They keep on trucking, man. So it's cool. You pretty much
And
there's
yeah,
certain.
plus our boy Danny,
Yeah, Danny, I
uh,
believe is playing with them. Santana now. I mean,
yep,
it's because we went through a period in Tampa where, as we know from the bands we played in there, in that area, we went through a period where like you had the bands that played for which I mean I know Promethean Horde's still around. You had Ulcer that was there for a long time, and played. I mean, bands that were like for like probably 20 years. You kind of knew you would see them pop up on the shows and stuff, and it's so it's cool to like even for us, like we don't know all the new bands that are out, or we don't know like it's kind of like we can actually I don't know from doing this I actually
connect.
pay attention. Yeah, I pay
Yeah.
attention a little bit
Well,
more.
because you post a lot of times, on Facebook, our personal pages, you'll post like our flyers that we
Old
did. Like
flyers,
the other
yeah.
day, the Venom one. And I'm looking at the bands on there, and of course I
Led
think
by
we were the only
Serpents.
local. Yeah,
I
Led
think
by
Led by
Serpents.
Serpents was on there. Yeah.
But a couple weeks ago, you posted one, and there was Generic Christ, Destined to Ruin. Oh shit, what was Brad's band?
Sledge Grinder.
Sledge Grinder. Yep, I have his new stuff in my head.
Sledge
But
Grinder. Yeah.
Ulcer. You think of when you look at those flyers and you see all those band names. You know what I mean? And before Nocturnus came back after Death, and I see these flyers and I just go, man, a lot of those bands are no longer here. And
I mean, look at Led by Serpents. They had Colin at one time, who also played in End Unseen, and we lost Colin. We're getting to the ages now where you start losing people and stuff. And sometimes I see those flyers, or you get these flashbacks of these old photos, and all of a sudden, out of the 5 guys in the picture, there's like 3 still left. I mean, it's kind of
there's a lot of bands
reminder.
that just want I mean, even my original ish band, Contorted, they should have kept going. I know Pete and Jim are in Nasty Savage, but I mean, there were some killer songs, dude. I mean, seriously, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's we all know it's hard to keep going. Like sometimes you just kind of, it's like I mean, this goes back to the whole like changing members and bands and stuff. It's like a marriage, like so if you're gonna make a band last for a long time, sometimes it's hard, and sometimes we all have that. We all want all the bands we listen to have the same lineup the whole time. Like I love that, but in reality, to keep a group going, sometimes it can't be like that. And it's because you gotta kind of cut off the infection sometimes. Because let's all be honest. Sometimes there's definitely some infections in the band. If start after many years, people don't agree, or when you're creating something, it's kind of hard, I think, to have everyone see the same template, like the same idea. To buy into it. And we've run into that, Ed, a bunch of times ourselves. And it's just normal. It's nothing. I mean, ever since I've been playing, you're always going to run into that. I think,
and you get people like we have, and they're stable for a little while, and then all of a sudden it's like a switch flips, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, what the fuck? And then it's over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It sucks,
I think it's because you spend so much time together, you start, especially when you're young, when you're in your teens or 20, start getting a little older, that you change. And then,
well, I was talking with Lee, because, obviously, Mark Van Erp lives in New York, and Matt lives in Alabama, and Sam lives in Fort Myers ish, somewhere down there. And Justin floats around St. Pete, but, but the other 2 main dudes, Mark and Matt, live out of state. So practicing with Monstrosity is like, until we have a tour or shows, it's non-existent. So trying to prepare to do vocals for a record from just recordings on your computer, that's not how we did it. If you remember, when we had recordings coming up, we were practicing 4 or 5 times a week, nonstop for hours and hours and hours. Now, of course, we were young, no kids, no family.
Which is a big, obviously.
It's a huge thing.
It's a huge thing. I mean,
I used to get toasted.
Yeah, we used to give you some shit. I mean, I get it, because when you have kids, it's a whole different world now. And I waited a long time, obviously, to have kids. But yeah, I mean, even now, I mean, people. I got a message the other day from somebody who we all know, who's one of my friends. He asked us. He's like, "Man, I haven't seen. You guys haven't been around in a while." And I'm like, yeah, I had a couple kids, and we're still doing stuff. Me and Ed are still recording, and we finally just finished up that Doomsla record, which we'll be talking about in the next couple weeks once I get the information all pretty much. Once we figure out exactly what we're doing with it, so we've been recording still, so we've been doing that kind of stuff. But I'll admit, the last couple of years, show wise, being active, like out there, pounding the pavement, I guess it is. Right now, I've been into that other mode, but next year I'm looking forward to we'll be back next year playing some stuff.
And the other side of the coin was trying to find people when you don't know who they are, and you get them in a room and you start doing some stuff, and you realize after a few weeks, fuck. You
Yeah,
know,
well,
this
especially when you're recruiting from here. Like, for if I'm over here and I'm like talking to people, it's hard. Like you said, you can't get in a room with them, and kind of it takes a while to jam. You can, I don't know. Do you think like I kind of feel like the first one or two jams, right away? You're like, okay,
usually I'm pretty, yeah, because I can tell if somebody has, I hate to use the word, but if somebody has the chops, if they're getting the foundation of what you're doing, and it's just a matter of them, it's a memory thing until they learn, the timing and all that stuff. That's one thing. But if you see somebody playing and they're struggling, and they come in and their gears kind of whatever, start shutting off in the middle of playing, and it's always an excuse. And I mean, I've dealt with it all. Yeah, it kind of kills the mode, you know what I mean? And it kills the mood too. And um, then, especially for you, you're only here, the plan was you're here 6 months, gone 6 months. So, my plan has always been have everything ready when you get here so we can just jump right in and jam. And I thought we had that last time, but apparently that was a negative Ghost Rider. So,
yeah,
it is what it is. It
it
is
is
what it
it's what
is. I mean,
happens.
yeah. And we know now, see, we learn from mistakes, so we know what to do. And, and plus me and you, we have, you know, kind of three other things we do, which is crazy. I mean,
Yeah, it's
between
definitely
Skin
keeps you
Tomb
busy.
and Flesh Reaper, we've been doing a lot of stuff over the years. So if one doesn't pan out, we can just jump to the next. It's not like we're stuck. So at least now we know, you know what I mean? But for most people, it's either they jam or you know what happens? They stop jamming and then they try to put something new together and it doesn't happen. And what happens? They're gone. Like just look at the people in the scene. They're gone. I mean, I look at the people that we used to see at the Mug that were in all these bands. You'd walk up and there's like, oh, there's that dude, and you know what I mean. And
It's weird now, right? Because it really has changed a lot, especially in the Tampa area. We've seen like
it,
a lot of bands that, like I said, we were saying earlier, that we used to play with that are gone now, and even us, we're not very active right now. So it's, you
I
know,
mean, I could literally think, besides Precipice, there's only like, I mean, Promethean Horde. They've been around for a while, but the only other band I can think of that's still doing anything is Must Not Kill. That's the
yeah,
only other
they're
band in
playing
my
this
head.
festival coming up too.
Yep.
Actually, yeah, they're on there.
So, I
And
mean,
Tom's singing for
obviously,
them now, who I do like Tom a lot. I remember when he was
and
with Bleeding Money.
Aaron's a good dude. Plays bass,
Yeah, they
and Brad,
them and
of course.
Brad, yeah, they're still around. And punk band wise, there's obviously still some left in the area, but it has been a change. There is new bands now, and you have to kind of, keep up, or you get let.
Well, I'll tell you, man. I don't know if you saw any of Brandon's videos yesterday. He was in Orlando, but for No Effects,
Oh yeah, their
Pennywise,
final tour they're
dude,
doing. Yeah.
12,000 people huddled into it looked like just cattle in a fucking. I don't know how to explain it. Like he
How was the
was
temperatures there too? Was it pretty? Like I was wondering about that
90s,
actually.
90s. It
90s.
wasn't super bad, but 12,000 people, one on top of the other. I mean, what they used to call that's a super spreader.
Yeah, I know,
Hopefully
right?
nobody in that crowd had COVID, but yeah, I mean, I was just watching it and I'm thinking where they were. I'm like, you can't even see this because yeah, I know Pennywise was one of the bands he posted. Circle Jerks played, but No Effects was I think the headliner.
And I think that Pete had booked. I think Eric from NoFX had played the night prior at the Conduit. I think he did a solo show. So I believe that happened the night before. But yeah, no, that was I saw it was packed, man. That show was
Dude,
fucking
12.
packed.
Apparently, there's 12,000 people, man, and I'm just like, no, no, no way. I just, dude, there's something about that type of crowd. I'm just not interested, man.
It's like the old Ozfest or
I think
the
about I think about the Mug
Lollapalooza.
when we played with Exodus, and remember how packed it was, and it was like what
Yeah.
190 degrees in that. Dude, I've
I
never
would play
sweat
that
so much.
show. I would play that show and sweat my balls off any time because that was just
Yeah, no, no,
to
no.
play
But
a
I'm just
show like
talking
that
about.
was fucking
There's
great.
only two shows I've ever played that were so packed at the Mug, and that I literally looked like I got out of a rainstorm. And it was the Exodus show we played, and I think we played with Vader.
Yeah.
And it was just, dude, I've never been that soaked before. But it was incredible. I mean, obviously, but that's my extent of being around people like that. 12,000 people. Imagine trying to leave and go home.
Yeah, that's what
Where are you
people
going?
try to park by the exits. We went to a couple festivals here in Europe last year, and I hate to say I do the old man thing. I'm like, let's park towards the exit so we can get out of here when it's over, and shit
Yeah.
like that. But so we are actually. So I want to introduce. We are joined right now with we're. So what's up, David? We are joined with David from. Make sure I'm saying this right, dude. Fathom, correct?
That's correct. Yeah. Yeah.
How
Well,
you?
for a change, somebody pronounced the name
You know,
correctly. Yeah. Most people say Fathom.
I know. I mean, I know you guys because I've seen obviously through me and Ed are active in the scene. We've been playing for years, and I mean, I've actually we've never done a show with you, but it's good to have you on, and I really appreciate it. And
Oh yeah.
giving us
Thanks
your
for the
time.
invitation. And I checked out the previous podcasts you guys did a couple weeks ago, and yeah, really cool stuff. So I'm glad
Thanks,
you're doing
man.
this.
Thanks, we appreciate it. Yeah,
Thank
we
you.
just kind of get together and bullshit and see what
Riffing. We're just
happens.
riffing,
Yeah,
man.
we just kind of go back and forth. But and I'm gonna now. If I butcher a few names, man, you gotta forgive me because that's just the way it goes, I guess. But you were born in Cochabamba, Bolivia.
That's
How
right.
would I pronounce that correctly?
Yeah, you pronounced it correctly. Yeah.
And your guys' main language there is Spanish? Because I looked at you guys have there's a
Yep.
lot of languages spoken, but you guys' main one is Spanish.
Yes, the main language is Spanish, and there's Quechua, there's Aymara, there are different old tongues. We actually used Quechua in a couple of songs in the second album, which is one of the native tongues from there.
Okay, and I was telling Ed I used to so back when I used to trade with a guy from Europe, actually that town. Well, and actually coach a chump. I was going to say it wrong this time, but yeah. So there was a band called B Style Holocaust out of there. So
Yes, yes,
probably
yes.
yeah. So I
Hmm.
used to trade with him. Actually, I even have one of the 7 inches here from those days. But
Nice.
I used to trade with him as probably I don't know. It might have been shit 2001. I think the last thing they did was a split with Sacrilegious Rights. I think that was like 2015. I don't even think they're active anymore, but they were called B
Yeah, I
Style
don't think they are
Holocaust.
anymore. Yeah, yeah, they were
Yeah.
cool.
So when I saw where you were from, I said, "Shit, man!" I said, "I remember like trading with a guy with one of the bands there, and that was the band." But what is your memories growing up there?
Well, it was always surrounded by music because my dad is the singer and composer of one of the first hard rock bands that um, came out of Bolivia. The
Okay,
name
what's
was
the name?
Cincuenta de Marzo. And so because of that, he introduced me to so much classic rock and he was still among musicians. So the first few years of my upbringing were surrounded by music. And then later on, I just continued my path because my dad at that point, he was completely done with the whole music industry, but I still loved it because I grew up with it and I continued it, even though both my parents did not really want me to.
And you played piano at 7, correct? And then something happened, like there was a problem with the teacher.
That's right. Yeah. Um, yeah, my parents, they didn't want me to be a professional musician, but they still wanted me to have musical training in the beginning. So they put me in piano lessons. And the first teacher that I had was this German lady um, that she lived a long time in England and then ended up in Bolivia somehow. But the way she used to teach was a little brutal. She would beat your hands. She would put coins on your hands, and then whenever you drop the coins, she would instantly beat you with a ruler, stuff like
Jesus
that.
Christ.
And at 7 years old, that was impactful. So I was like, nah, I don't want to come back there. So, but with a little bit of lessons that I was able to get out of her, um, I continued on my own a little bit on the piano, and then I said, I don't really care much for the piano. I like it, but I want to grab that guitar. Grandpa's guitar is in a corner there gathering dust, and for some reason, it's just calling me. So I picked it up and started on my own, and
And
haven't
you
looked back
actually got
since.
into blues at first, correct? You were actually like
Yeah,
influenced by blues and learned how to play the blues first.
that's right. Yeah, that's how I started. First, I would just lock myself up in the room and listen to this compilation of blues artists um, that somebody had given me, and I would just listen to that over and over again and try to play along. And eventually, I started, not just riffing, but also playing some solos and improvising on my own, just in my room. And that's how it started, really. That's when I realized that I wanted to be part of a band, is when I started learning those licks, or just, improvising.
Was there any blues guitars that stood out to you? Like, did you have a few that just really
I did have a few.
influenced?
In the beginning, of course, I was into Albert King. I was into the like Chuck Berry, and also the before that, like Johnson, like Robert Johnson. A little bit of everything, spanning from the beginning of blues, and then when it was already turning into rock and roll. But then later on, I wanted to pick up more. I wanted to progress, and I wanted to do different styles of music. So that's when I started branching out, and that's when I learned about Joe Satriani, Yngwie Malmsteen, Steve Vai, and my dad at that time, he had a music store. So he used to get magazines, lots of magazines. So he had Guitar Player magazines. I grabbed one of those and cut out some, uh, cutouts of Vai, Satriani, and Yngwie, and put them on my wall. And since then, I've been listening to them. So that's when it all started to take shape for me to want to explore other options, not just blues.
And then after the blues, what you kind of did what we all do. You get into the Sabbaths, right? The Kisses, and
Yeah.
the
Oh, Sabbath was
Arrow.
already in my life since before, because of my dad. So I, before I even picked up the guitar, I was already listening to King Crimson, Yes, Black Sabbath. He introduced me to Dio, Motorhead. So all of that was already in my head, and I wanted to get there, but I had to start somewhere. So that's why I started with blues, I guess.
Okay, and you guys, we're going to get to actually Eric Gran just joined us too. He's actually going to be putting on the Death Fest. Eric, we will
Hey
definitely
guys,
talk to you also. How you doing,
Hey,
man?
what's up,
doing
Eric?
Um,
well, doing well.
so when you were in, so your first band, now this one I do not know how to pronounce. Is it Caustica? Was your first
Uh,
band?
yes, it's Caustica, and that's actually not my first band, but it's the first band that was beginning to compose originals. So, and Mariela was actually part of that band as well. So she was
Yeah, I was going to
also
ask you, how
in
did you
Bolivia
guys
at
come
that
to get?
point.
How did you meet her?
Well, she grew up here, and then for the last 4 years of school, she went to Bolivia. So when she finished high school and I finished high school, we finished high school at the same time. We were preparing to go into college, and so we met through some friends of hers. And I was already in bands since um, probably 12 years old. That's when I was in my first band, but it was all covers. I was the most prominent of those. Was a Pink Floyd cover band where I used to sing and play the guitar. So I was like the David Gilmour of that tribute band. And but I wanted to start composing. So I started writing some stuff. But when I met Mariela, I said, "Wow, her vocals are very unique." And my dad noticed it as well. And my dad, as a singer, so I respected his opinion. So that's when I decided, do you want to be part of a band? Would this interest you? And she said, yeah, why not? And that's when she decided to start uh, just messing about with the keyboard. And eventually she started coming up with her own things on the keyboard as well.
And she learned
And
by ear, correct?
yeah, by ear as well. Yep. And we started writing some music, and we also played some Black Sabbath covers, and that was Caustica.
And when did you relocate to Fort Lauderdale? Was that where you went directly to?
Yes, it was Fort Lauderdale in 2001.
Was it one? And that's when
Yeah,
Fathom
yeah. She
began,
went to
right?
California actually, but then she ended up here in Fort Lauderdale as well, and so then we continued the what at that point didn't have a name because Caustica stayed in Bolivia. But we started writing again as soon as she moved here. Because I moved in 2001, but she had moved to the U.S. or back to the U.S. I should say, in early 2000. So it was like a year after that I moved, but to Fort Lauderdale because she was in LA. And then eventually, because her mom was here, she ended up coming here, and then we started writing again. And then we needed a name for the band. after a few years, because we were going to college and we were still pursuing that, um, and we were not able to find any bandmates. So we were just writing and writing and writing and writing. And every time we would find a musician, it wouldn't work out. Either they had a lot of gear but they didn't know how to play, or they knew how to play but didn't have any gear at all. It was like you just couldn't. So after a while, we just said, well, let's just finish college. Let's keep writing stuff, and we were pretty much exploring a new sound as well. Because what Caustica was very influenced by Black Sabbath. It was very different. But now with all the new influences, we got into extreme metal a lot in 2001, and we started discovering so many bands. So that's when something new was starting to form. Of course, in Bolivia, we had a little bit of an influence for like Therion and bands like symphonic metal bands, really. But here, for some reason, we just got into the really aggressive stuff, and then we discovered the first wave of black metal, and that's what truly inspired us when we discovered um, what bands had started the whole genre. And even though we didn't want to classify ourselves or start doing black metal only, it was a major influence. Listening to Bathory, listening to A Merciful Fate, which I had already known since Bolivia, but this time I was like really, really heavy into it.
And Merciful Fate and
And
King Diamond, that's a big influence on you guys, right? Because you could tell you guys have that theatrical thing going on. So that's
yeah,
yeah, you can kind of see that.
yeah,
2004, you guys did what? Your first single came out, The Earth Wept, um, which you guys had the drummer, Daniel, was it Daniel Reyes on drums for that?
not for that. No, for that it was actually just me programming drums because at that point we didn't have a drummer, we didn't have a bassist. It was just the two of us recording at home.
So you guys did a
Um,
lot of shit yourselves, right? You guys were
yeah,
like, because how does it work? You both write the music, and Morella, if I'm saying her name right, she writes the lyrics, correct?
we both write the music and she writes the lyrics by herself. Yes.
Okay.
And yeah, at that point we were because we couldn't find any bandmates, we started doing that on our own and just continued developing our sound. And then in 2008 is when we um, found Federico on bass. He's an Argentinian bassist. He's back in Argentina now, but he was in the band for a while, for a few years. And then we found Hermes, and that's when we had the capability of playing live shows. And in 2009, we played our first show.
And Morella, am I saying that name correct? Right, Morella, is that correct? Or
Mariela.
Moriella? Okay.
Yeah,
And she's also a horror novelist. Is that correct?
she is. She is a published novelist, and she did get published in different horror magazines. And she was about to get a book published when the guy that was going to publish it, he went out of business. So that's when we decided, okay, you're not getting this book published, but we're writing this music. What if we incorporate these lyrics into the music that we're writing and we just do concept albums? And that's how it all started with Fathom. And from the first album, it was a concept album based on that story that was supposed to be getting published on a book. And in the end, it got published on music format.
Nice. Because like 2009, you guys put out what, Lullaby for a Heathen Spawn, which was 5 songs. And is that you guys played your first show during that? Was that during the release of that?
Yeah, our first show was the release of that EP. So we decided, if we were going to play a show and we've been writing so much music for such a long time, we need to have something out. So the first show we had that EP with us, and that was like a kind of like an introduction to what the album was going to be later. So it was 5 songs of the whole concept album that was going to be released later.
And is that in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Unholy that you're speaking of as the album?
Yeah, that's right.
So that's what 2011 that came out, 16 tracks. So was that the first full concept you guys did?
Yes, yes, that was the first time we worked on a full concept album. Um, Before that, it was just demos, and then the actual release was an EP that was preceding that concept album. So some of those songs in the EP are in that concept album. And I guess the only demo that we actually released to the public before that was The Earth Wept. But it was only MySpace, because at that point we didn't even have a way to put it on a CD. So we were on MySpace, and we started, making some contacts, but then MySpace went away. But yeah, that's how it
You guys did
started.
a video for that also, the "Thou Shalt Follow," which I think has some Spanish in it, correct, in the beginning of that track. Um,
Yes, it does.
yeah, so
Yeah, in
you
the
have
beginning and also in the middle. And there's like a, I don't know if you know the genre tango from Argentina, but there's like a tango inspired section in the center of the song, which, because it's part of the whole theme, because it's supposed to be, not just set on a particular country, but different countries where Catholicism is number one. And Argentina is one of those, and of course Bolivia, Spain. So it's pretty much an anti Christianity album if you really think about it. But at the same time, it's just liberation, um, liberating yourself from religion as a whole.
And you guys did a video with Dan Jackson for that, and you also explained to me what the because you guys did the theme song for Metal City Mayhem, which he also worked on. What exactly is that?
Yeah, well, Dan Jackson, he's a great filmmaker. He was working on this movie, and he had some actors already that not only knew how to act, but they also had martial arts knowledge. And so it was going to be all about these guys that are fighting like a mob that kidnapped their brother, and so it was all about metal. So the brothers are metalheads, and the mob is just these mobsters that are in charge of the city. And so he contacted us and he said, "Well, I need a theme song for this," and we gladly said yes, because uh, we wanted to be part of something as original as that. We haven't seen anything like it. Unfortunately, the project did not take off because he lost the main actor. Um, so he basically fired the main actor, and since that, he hasn't been able to find somebody to replace him. Hopefully, he can bring it back. But it was a great concept, and they were starting to film a little bit already, so there was some trailers out there.
Okay. In 2016, you guys put out the next full length, which was "Fury of a Scorned Witch," which is another concept record, and we're actually going to play a song from that. Which, if you want to introduce it, is "Slaves to Dawn."
Slaves to the Dawn, it's right. Yeah, there's a lyric video for that as well.
Okay, so we're going to play that, and we'll get back with you, and we'll get to you too, Eric. And we'll be right back after this track here. Give me one moment. Okay, so that was "Slaves to the Dawn" off of the "Fury of the Scorned Witch," which is again is a concept album, and I think that takes place in Bolivia. That story, right, that you guys did for that one.
Looks like I was muted.
We do it all
Yes,
the
the
time. Don't worry
second.
here.
Yeah, the second album was set in Bolivia, in a fictional little town close to the mines in Bolivia. So yeah, it's all about the miners and the influence of uh, pagan beliefs in the mines and clashing with the again the Catholic Church. Um, so yeah, it was kind of a continuation of the topic of freeing yourself from religion, but this time it was a little more rageful than the first time.
Okay, so you guys, and also, so now I know you guys are working on a new record, which we'll talk about in a second, or you might have already finished it. Actually, I know it's supposed to come out, I guess, 2024 or the end of this year. Um, so introduce your new lineup. Now, I do know you guys have Brian Wilson on drums from Hell Witch and Night Demon and Midnight Spell. We actually had Pat from Hell Witch on. He was one of our first interviews on this show, actually, that we did.
Oh yeah.
And Brian's a killer drummer from everything that I've seen. I mean, but can you introduce the lineup, the current lineup?
Yeah, so the current lineup is, of course, Maria La Muerte, myself, and we have Brian on drums, Brutal Brian, and then we have Evie. Evie is a newcomer. She came in the band about a year and a half, close to 2 years ago, and we had a second guitarist as well, Billy. He actually became part of the band in 2019, right before the pandemic hit. Unfortunately, they discovered that he had cancer during the pandemic, and then he started just fighting it with chemotherapy and lost the battle not too long ago.
I
So
saw
we
that.
did it.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I did
Yeah,
see that.
yeah. So we did a show in his memory. He never got to record because he was so weak at that point. But he was practicing with us, trying to come up with his parts. Unfortunately, he couldn't even come up with his own parts. So in the end, I had to take over. Um, but yeah, right now we're a four piece, so it's just one guitar for now. Eventually, we'll have a second guitar again.
And you guys are, like I said, are working on a new album, which I could try to say the title here. So what is it? Chaosmorphogoria? Is that on the right
Chaosmorphogoria,
path?
yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay, yeah. So what can you tell us about the new record you guys are working on?
Yeah, so the new record is it's been in the making since probably 2016 with the first song, which is the one of the last songs in the album called "Strike Thunder Rebel." Um, so it all started with that song, and then it started taking shape. This time around, instead of having the lyrical concept before the music, we worked it the other way around. So we had the music, and but the music was a little bit inspired by what we were going through at the time, which was a lot of changes. Uh, but then the lyrical content became part of what we were going through, but at the same time in a fictional way, in a mythological representation of transformation. And so from beginning to end, the main character is fighting different demons and monsters through different planets. It's a little bit of a sci-fi um, album, really. So it's like sci-fi horror. But yeah, all the monsters are representations of different inner demons and different problems going on within the main character herself. But you can also take it just as a mythical concept, or you can dig into the lyrics and see that there are messages there about what us humans go through inside.
Okay, and you guys, what you guys are playing now? This is going to bring us up to our other guest, Eric Gran. How you doing, Eric? From
Hey,
well, introduce yourself. Feel free. Go ahead. I'll let you.
yeah, hi, I'm Eric Gran from the Tampa Bay Metal Scene. I primarily book shows at the Brass Mug, and we've got, of course, Fathom is going to be joining us this year on Saturday, October 7th. Really happy to have them.
Yeah, so, and David, do you keep it like? Do you go back to Bolivia often, or what is the scene like in Bolivia? Because I know there's a shitload of bands over there. I mean, but is there a metal? How is the metal scene there? So I know South
Uh,
America is supposedly like Ed's played. Ed's been
I
you know
played.
Ed's
Yeah, I was gonna
he,
say I played La Paz.
yeah
oh,
So
you
he
did?
yeah Ed's with
yeah,
Monstrosity
2013.
now.
I was
Yeah,
with
and he's
Massacre then, but yeah,
Yeah, that's
we played
awesome.
La Paz, and it was crazy. That we stayed at a hotel that they said don't leave, just don't leave, don't even move out. Just if you want something, we'll get it. So yeah, it's a beautiful country, but the fans and it's crazy. Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad you actually made it there. That's awesome. Not a lot of bands make it there, unfortunately. I wish more bands would, but there's just not promoters with the financial funds necessary to bring lots of bands. But yeah, lately they've been bringing more bands, and but the local scene is very much alive. It has been since I recall, since I was there before coming to the U.S. and of course bands come and go like here as well, but there has been a few bands that have stuck around. For example, a friend of mine in Cochabamba, he has a black metal band called Imperio Nocturno. That band has been around since 1997 or 98, and they're still around. They've been releasing splits and albums, and um, there are many other bands that are still around in Cochabamba, like Estertor. Estertor is also a band that was playing back when we were still doing the Caustica shows. We actually played only a couple of shows over there, and both shows were with them. This is like a thrash death band. Um, but yeah, there are a few bands that are still carrying the flag. Um, and there are new bands as well, like Azotador, for example, is a thrash metal band, and these are very young musicians, and so yeah, they're still out there.
Okay. You
And
guys are going.
yeah, we would love to, we would love to go there. We have talked to many people there in the past, but nobody's serious enough to put something together yet. But yeah, we're hoping that that's going to happen soon. We would love to play in Bolivia.
So you guys are going. So now you're going to be in Tampa on Saturday. Eric? Do you have? So I know what is it? Venom Inc. on Saturday. Let's talk about the whole festival. So Friday, um, so Friday is Thursday is the first night of it. Actually, not even Friday, correct?
That's correct. Yes, Thursday is the
Okay,
first
so
night.
your schedule for Thursday. Let me see here. Let me
Yeah,
pull this up here a little bit. If you can, if you want to tell us some of the schedule here,
yeah,
I do
sure.
have it in front of me also. Um, So you have Skulldozer. Skulldozer, what? They're out of is it Alabama or Carolina? I forget where they're from.
They're coming
Actually,
out of Mississippi, from Mississippi. Yeah.
Mississippi. Okay, so you got
Mm-hmm.
Precipice, who we actually played when we opened up the show. Um, they're playing also with Corrupted Saint,
Yeah.
Killing Addiction, Mortal Fury. Let me see. I'm probably missing a couple others here. I do apologize. But you have what? One, two, three, four, five, six. So is it? So Thursday night it starts. What time does it start Thursday night? I see four. So
Uh,
4 p.m. in the afternoon.
yeah, yeah. Doors are at 3. Show starts at 4. All 3 nights.
Okay, and then if you want to go over the Friday lineup, we can go over that too.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Friday we have Fetal Embalmment, which is a one-man death metal project, kind of similar to Putrid Pile. That style, and he's coming here from Colorado. So he's going to be the opener on Friday night. And I had him last year as well. Really cool kid. He's like early 20s. He's prolific. I mean, he already has, I believe, like 3 demos, and he's going to be putting those all together in one, nice full album within the next few months, which I'm hoping to grab there at the show if he has any advanced copies. And then we've got a local band, local to Tampa, Voidrium, which is a sort of Greek black metal. So really cool, twist on black metal. Not really seeing a lot of bands out there with that sound, particularly in this area. We've got Burned at the Stake, and they're coming from Cape Coral. And if you know Andy Howell of Howell Tattoos and the Venue, that's his project. Piss on Christ, which is a death metal band. The main songwriter moved down here from New York about a year to 2 years ago, and man, he's been hitting it hard ever since. Just show after show, album after album. They're very deicide style, so if you're into deicide, check out Piss on Christ. Chemicost, which is they're sort of a Slayer-like band, you know. They're coming from Dallas, Texas, and Chemicost has been playing Tampa Death Fest since the very first show. So this is their, I think they've.
And how many have you done so far?
5. This is the 5th.
Fifth, okay.
Yeah. So it's been going for a while now, and it just keeps getting bigger each year. I'm so thankful for the way that it is heading. We've got a couple more bands on Friday. MRSA from South Florida, the death metal band. If you know anything about MRSA, it's sort of like Exhumed. Like the show is very like horror, gore oriented itself, and of course they're a great band as well. Pantheon is coming from Little Rock, Arkansas, so they're traveling quite a ways to be here. They're another death metal band. I was recommended by their label. I talked to the guy that runs their label several times, and when I put out the ads for Tampa Death Fest, he hit me up, sent me a couple CDs, and they're good. Of course, I grabbed right on. And Pantheon they're really getting up there. You know, they're out there doing things. They're out there touring the country pretty often. And then there's 2 more bands for Friday night. One is joining us from Chicago, or the Chicago area anyway, and that's Sarah Viscera. They're another death metal band. They're kind of a progressive style, very unique, forward-thinking style death metal band, which they haven't been here in Tampa since the very first festival 4 years ago. So it'll be good to have those guys back. And then Hell Witch is a headliner.
Love Hell Witch. Great band, I mean.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah. I'm a big Hell Witch fan, particularly after really looking into them. So I'm hoping that they're going to have.
Yeah, they've been around forever, man. They are, Pat's vocals are fucking great. I mean, very distinctive. I feel like, he's got one of those voices that, I mean, I know Dave, you play with Brian, also the drummer. But...
Yes, and I actually have a little story as well. I mean, I was playing bass with Hellwitch for a little while, but not live. It never became a live thing because of my I had to play a show with Faethom that was very important. So I couldn't go on tour with them, but I was actually practicing with them. We had a set list and everything. And that was not too long ago. It was before the pandemic, 2018, I think, or 17. But yeah, it didn't work out in the end, but Julian is still with them, and I hope JP comes down for the show because it sounds really good. When the whole lineup is there, it's like an explosion of the 2 guitars. It's really good.
Our last Hell Witch album I thought was really good too.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
after talking with him too, it made me like him even more. You know what I mean? I mean,
Pat's awesome. Yeah,
because we played with them in Miami because he remembered that when we did that show with Obituary, and they fucking. I remember I got back specifically to make sure I saw them, and they were just they just were on fucking fire, man. And
oh yeah.
Then we talked to him, and it was like, man, this dude is like, us. You know what I mean? He's just a down to earth.
Pat comes back from the day, like the tape training we talk about, or even recording on, when you had to record on tape back in the day. Pat's like, even the guy, look at that Nosferatu demo, like they were recording it with a notepad as a snare drum.
Yeah, man. I mean, when he broke that out, that changed my whole aspect of recording a demo. I've never been that desperate to have to use a bucket or whatever.
But it worked.
You know
People started writing them.
Yeah,
They started
man.
getting like fan mail and
worked.
shit. Like, you know, it's like, fuck, dude.
Crazy, man.
Yeah. But so Sunday,
Yeah, Pat is up.
yeah, Pat's the guy's great, man. So Sunday
Yeah.
is Sunday's you know, you got some heavy hitters on that show. So I'll let you.
Yeah,
Saturday.
Saturday. I mean, I keep on thinking the Friday, Saturday,
It's,
Sunday.
you know,
but it's actually
3
Thursday,
nights in a
Friday,
row,
Saturday.
you know. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
So, yeah. So Saturday, yeah, we do. We've got some big bands coming in for that night. Venom Inc., of course. Really, no need to even introduce
Tony Dolan
Venom Inc.,
and
you know.
Kling.
Yeah. Satan. So that's,
Which
I'm so
I got to say
excited
about
for
Satan,
that,
man. That is so fucking
Wow.
great. And we were talking about this
Yeah.
on the last show, Eric. You know, the thing with Satan is you're getting the lineup from the '83 Court in the Act album. I mean, from what I see, I know the last record they did, the
Wow.
Earth Infernal record, that was the same lineup as the '83 lineup, and I believe it's the same lineup you guys are going to get. Which
Yep.
I mean, I'm actually over.
Yeah.
I'm away right now. I'm in Eastern Europe right now, so I'm going to miss these shows. But yeah, but I'm like the Satan thing really bumps me out. I was bitching about this the other night. I was like, the fact that you have the same lineup from the '83 record is just unheard of in 2023. You know, it's like usually you get like one guy from these bands who are still the
Right.
same. You know,
That's
you got
amazing.
Brian Ross is still on vocals with them.
Yeah.
I mean,
The original lineup is insane.
yeah, I mean, how hard is
Yeah.
that, right? That you go
Yeah.
through this year now, but yeah, I had a Satan. That's going to be a great one. And who else is on that show? On the Saturday.
We also have Ringworm. So that's gonna be a good show right there. Ringworm, and then there's another band on the tour that's 72 Legions. Ringworm and 72 Legions both are coming from Cleveland, Ohio, which is actually a pretty big scene right now. That's really blown up there. So I'm excited for those two bands as well. And then beyond the tour, Sadistic Vision is going to be performing, which those guys are badass, and they always draw a crowd at the Brass Mug, you know. Virulence, which is another really solid band that's only been around for a short time. They've been opening for some big bands. They played that Obituary weekend here in Tampa.
They opened for Monstrosity.
You know, yeah.
The two shows we did in Miami and Tampa, they
cool.
played. Yeah, yep.
Really
Killer dudes.
nice.
Yeah, killer.
Yeah, they really are really good guys. And then Must Not Kill, which is another local to Tampa band that's been around forever. Yes, and man, the lineup right now, solid. Like I think they're like on top of it right now. You know, so I'm glad to have those guys. And then Faethom, of course, they've joined up.
Guys, yeah.
Yeah. You know,
what time are you guys going on, Dave? Do you guys know
Who-
what time you guys are hitting the
Who are
stage?
these
on
guys? I've never heard of Fathom. Who are these guys?
I
Well,
feel
yeah,
bad. I
we
probably
were-
butchered the singers. You have to apologize to. I probably butchered the singer's name, man. Sorry about that if I did. I
No,
tried to
don't
get the
worry,
name
don't worry.
correct.
Yeah, it's not a very common name here in the U.S. So, but yeah, I mean, we were surprised because just like a day or two before, I had made a post about us not playing, not opening for Satan, because Satan is one of our favorite bands of all time, really. And we played with Venom Inc. in the past, but Venom Inc. is not coming down to South Florida. It's just Satan that's coming down to South Florida to Piper's, where we're going to do the album release show. And the organizer, for some reason, put bands that we had no idea that were going to be on there, but it's bands that have played with us in the past, they're friends, and so yeah, we're happy. So I just put a post, I'm happy that my friends are going to be opening the show. I wish it would have been us, but I'm super happy. This Derek Roddy with his new project, he's the reason why we were able to record the drums, and the drums are sounding so good because of him, because he's such a great he has a studio where he records the drums, and Brian recorded in there with his own drum set with Derek Roddy's drum set, because it's just a beautiful drum set. And I'm so glad that he's opening, and put a post like that. And then I don't know if it was a day or two later, Eric contacts us, and there's an opening. It's like, whoa, really? So yeah, we're psyched. We love Satan.
Derek you're playing with is talk about Roddy. So we just did 2 albums with Roddy. We do a band called Doomsala. Me and Jim Ross, and Jim Ross is actually going to be playing with Derek at the show, the Satan show. I don't know what's the venue that Derek's band's playing with them at, because I think Hellfrost is playing that also.
Yeah, Hellfrost. Yeah.
Yeah. What venue is that one for that show?
Pipers.
Piper. And you said you guys are doing the album release that night for the new record?
Yeah, well, the album release is going to be the 26th of October and the 28th in Tampa. So it's really going to be the same set. It's the whole album plus a few songs. So first we're going to play that on the 26th here, and then on the 28th at the Black Mass Fest in Tampa, the Brass Mug.
I saw they do. Well, that's with Haunted, right, Eric? You guys are doing that one with?
It was going to be with the Haunted, but
Haunted won't be there this year. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
John, the vocalist for Haunted, is the one who traditionally has held that event. But I was helping him out this year with booking some of the bands, and yeah, he had to step away, so he asked me to take over, which I'm glad he did because I'm having a great time with it so far. You know, we actually just announced that this morning. You know,
what's the date for that? We'll go back to that when we when it gets closer.
Sure,
but what's the date for that show?
Yeah, that's Saturday, October 28th, and that's also at the Brass Mug.
Okay, so it's October. Okay, yeah. So, okay, so do you have a Thursday, Friday, Saturday show, and tickets for each night? Is there a package available, or is it like you pretty much buy for each night that you want to go for the Death Fest?
It's sold per night. Yeah, there's no package available this year. It just didn't turn out that way. But so Thursday, it's $20 at the door, or $15 in advance. You know, we did it that way each night. You know, just reduce the cost online. Friday, October 6th, that's $25 at the door, $20 in advance. Saturday, $30 at the door and $25 in advance.
You guys doing shirts and shit for the show, like
yeah,
show shirts?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I've actually got two designs for the show. One is the event shirt, and then one is a Tampa Bay Metal Scene shirt, which Dean, actually MRSA is the artist for MRSA. Dean, he's the one that did the t-shirt design for the Tampa Bay Metal Scene t-shirt. So it looks pretty cool. He's a good artist.
I think we're losing Eric a little bit there. Eric's getting a little choppy.
So yeah, hey man, I just got a couple more bands to go through real quick on the list for Saturday, and it's the two openers, and that's my band Blasphemation. We're death grind, I guess, live performance wise. The albums kind of vary, they go from industrial to harsh noise to death metal, but I guess if I were to define us as a band, which is just me and my guitarist, Miguel Galindo, I'd say death grind. And so I'm really looking forward to that. I get to, perform the same night as Faethom and Venom Inc. and Satan, so I'm super psyched for all that. And then we've got one more opener, and he is the former keyboardist for After Death and also for Nocturnus AD. His project, Caduceus, is a one-man project. I'm personally a pretty big fan of what he's doing. It's really gothic, very keyboard oriented. The vocals are even keyboard, it's all real dark choir sounding stuff for vocals.
Isn't he doing stuff with Vincent Crowley too? Isn't he? I think he's doing something with the Vincent Crowley band, isn't he?
I think he has mentioned that.
The same keyboardist we're thinking of. What's his name?
Yeah,
online,
I'm not
I
sure.
don't actually know his name because it's always a pseudonym. It's Naux Alchemy, so he's always using some sort of stage name. But he's a really interesting guy, really interesting project. I like it a lot. Actually, last year when he also opened for one of the nights, I didn't even recognize him because he came up to me and he had this skeleton mask, all just dressed in black, and that's what he wears, on stage. Pretty cool show.
You got a busy ass week ahead of you, man.
That
Booking
covers
67
everybody.
Bands. That's always a fucking job and a half. That's
oh my gosh, dude. Yes. It's so many personalities to deal with, and work with everybody, make sure everything goes well, of course. And that's a big part of the job right there, is just make sure everybody's happy and all questions are answered and resolved before the show.
You'll be spent by Saturday night, man. When that's all over with, you'll be
I don't envy
ready
you.
to chill on Sunday.
Yes. Oh man.
I've been there. I don't envy that either, but I've been there. But that's cool, man. That is this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday coming up. That'll be the Tampa Death Fest number 5. You said, right?
That's right. Yes.
Okay, number 5, and David, back to you guys really fast. So you guys are going to do some touring next year. I was reading that you guys are planning on. I mean, I know it's right now. It's kind of hard, right? Because with all the prices, everything's a little crazy right now. Do you guys have a kind of a plan where are you guys gonna do like short runs, and then or are you gonna plan on doing a long run?
Yeah, well, in 2016 we were supposed to do a long run that got cut short because of a one of the venues not paying us enough for us to rent the van for another week, which would have gotten us to the West Coast. That was with Solstice, and but the dates that we did, it was about 10 dates. That was awesome. We got to play in many East Coast states. We played in New York 3 times, and Maryland. We did Philadelphia, we did Chicago, we did Ohio. We played a lot, and it was great. But we want to do it again. We just don't know exactly how it's going to work out this time. If we're going to do a full run, attempt to do a full run with somebody else, or if we'll do East Coast first and then later on West Coast. But yeah, we've been talking to a couple of bands. One of them is Coroidia from here, from Miami, well, about an hour from Fort Lauderdale, and the other band is now in Las Vegas, which is Chaos. No, I'm sorry, it's Ancestor of Chaos. And before it used to just be called Ancestor. And these guys actually moved from Cuba and were in Miami for a while. They were playing shows. It's black metal, and but the main guy, Joel, he ended up moving to Las Vegas, and now the drummer's there too, and they started the band again. They continued the band after so many years. They just played their first show, I think last week, after like 5 or 6 years of not playing any shows at all. So they're back again, and we're thinking, putting a package of the 3 bands, or whatever comes out, if anything else comes out, if they can't do it. But yeah, we definitely want to tour after the release of this album. Of course, we also have to deal with the situation that Brian is a Night Demon now, and Night Demon is getting so many shows. They're super active, so that's also hard. It's hard to be able to schedule a tour when Night Demon is pretty much playing every month.
And it's always the drummer. It's in Tampa. It's the same way. You get there's like 3 drummers that everybody wants in their band, and it's like you got to fucking work around it. It's totally understandable.
Yeah, it's hard.
So anybody who wants to find Faethom stuff, where would you go to? I mean, yeah, you can feel free to web pages or anything, Instagrams. So much shit out these days.
Yeah, well, we have our official website, which is fathomweb.
I think we lost David for a second. There, he's back. You're back now. We lost you for a second. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, the first place to go would be our official website, which is fathomweb at fathomweb.com, which is FAETHOM WEB.com. And then of course we're in all of the social networks as well. You can find us pretty much anywhere, including YouTube, even Twitter. We don't use that a lot, but we're there too. So
that's what. So people know it's FAETHOM, because I know there's a group of Fathoms, and so that's how you spell that. And you guys
FAETHOM, yes.
And the release date for the album again is what?
The release date is going to be October the 13th. That's going to be the official release, but then we're going to have a release shows on October the 26th here at Piper's in Pompano, and then October the 28th at the Black Mass Fest in Tampa, the Brass Mug.
Okay. And Eric, what about you? What do you got? Where can people find out? Make sure they can get all the info about the show and shit. Besides here, I know you guys you were on Death Metal Day's show this week, right?
I was on Death Metal Dave's show just a few days ago, and man, that guy's awesome. He's a very interesting person. Always love talking to him. Yeah, if for the tickets online, it's ticketbud.com, and that'll be across all 3 nights. Each night is sold separately. Just go to ticketbud.com, Tampa Death Fest, and then for Saturday night, I believe it's listed under Venom Inc.
Okay. Well, guys, if you actually, we'll say goodbye to you guys when we sign off. So if you guys just hang on for a moment. But David, I want to thank you first of all for coming on, man, on short notice. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you both, Tony and Ed. I mean, you guys are awesome. You're bringing back, that much needed unity among the Florida scene, really, because yes, it started with Tampa, but South Florida also has some kind of a scene, and yeah, joining it together is the best thing we can do.
Me and Ed have played, we played with like Reaper Mancer over there. I love those guys when we used to do shows with them.
Alvar's a good friend.
Yeah, and Caveman Colt. Like I really want to get him on here eventually because I really, I know Caveman Colt did some shows with Goat Whore. So I mean, you guys got some great bands. We were actually talking about, maybe you could tell us really fast before we end the show. Churchill's, is it done now, or what's the scoop over there?
Well, Churchill's is still around. There were rumors that it was a Chili's now. They turned it into a Chili's.
Yeah, I heard that too. I
saw
that.
Somebody made a meme or something. Yeah, and that's when the rumor started. But no, it's still there. There are lots of lawsuits, though. There are so many lawsuits that the new owners don't know what to do with it. So and also between the partners, they're having issues as well, because these are like different groups of people that own Churchill's now. So it's not the original owners anymore. The original owners used to keep it together, and they kept it together for so long. I remember once we opened for Agalloch in Tampa, and the drummer Aesop, he tells me, "Oh wow, yeah, I started playing at Churchill's. That's when I started drumming. I was in a punk band, and it was in the '80s." That was, wow, fuck, really? Yeah, I mean, it's been around for so long, so hopefully it will come back. Let's just hope so.
It's iconic. At least you got Gramps. I mean, I didn't know what to expect after. How many times did we play Churchill's, Tony? 5 or 6 times?
Yeah, a few times. Yeah,
I played there a bunch, but I hadn't played Gramps, and when we went down there, I wasn't sure what to expect. But it was better than I expected. It was actually pretty killer, man. I mean,
Gramps is good.
Bigger, obviously bigger than Churchill's by far, but
and you don't have that pole in front of you.
Yeah, I like the outdoor
CBGB bathroom.
Yeah, the outdoor experience is pretty good, but Churchill's is just iconic, man. You knew what you were getting when you went to Churchill's. So.
Yeah, I mean, so many bands have gone through Churchill's, all different genres, and it's an iconic.
Brass Mug in a way, right? It's like you got the Brass Mug in Tampa, and you got Churchill's everywhere. In Jersey, it was City Gardens, or you got L'Amour's up in, it's always in New York. You got those places that we all remember growing up, and But yeah, man, David, we really appreciate you coming on.
For sure. Thank you, guys.
You too, man. Like I said, we'll say goodbye to you when we sign off of here. But anything else you guys want to add? Just come out to the show this week, right? I mean,
come out to the show.
Exactly.
I'm pissed off.
Come out to Tampa Death Fest. Yeah.
I'm fucking pissed off because I had planned on coming out to see Hell Witch Friday, and it's my wife's birthday, so I don't know how that's going to work yet. My anniversary.
They love that shit.
My anniversary is the day before. And then I bought my wife for her birthday. She wanted to go see Willie Nelson because they're playing the Mid-Florida Amphitheater. So I'm like, I get you tickets. And then I realized it's fucking Saturday night. I'm just like,
man,
oh my God. But it starts at 4:30. So I'm thinking, I just realized, I think Willie Nelson's got to be in bed by 8, hopefully. So
there you go.
That leaves me time to still get to see something,
You got to respect Willie,
sure, man.
Dude, but, we said this, man. He probably doesn't have much time left on this earth. We said it with Lemmy. We made the decision to go see Motorhead, and what happened 3 weeks later, he was dead.
Fucking crazy.
So, you got to respect them while they're here, man, because tomorrow, I just saw something the other day, which, it's country, but shit, I can't even think of his name now. He was out there playing.
See how long you remembered him for? That's what the fucked up thing is.
Because I'm not a country guy, but
you go when they don't remember you.
but he has cancer, and he came out and sang, and he's like fucking 100 pounds, and I'm thinking, I think he did that because he knew, it was over.
Yeah.
So that's usually, I mean, because remember Lemmy was so frail.
Yeah,
and
Lemmy knew too. Yeah.
Yeah, you could tell when we saw them at the House of Blues. They kind of had to walk him up there. It was kind of, it was total.
Oh yeah, I was at that show. Yep.
Yeah, you were at that show. We were at that show too, and you could just kind of get that vibe. And it sucks because in the back of your head, you kind of knew, like, you're like, I don't know if I'm ever going to see Motorhead again. This is probably the end of us seeing
dude,
Motorhead.
when we remember, he used to be very animated when I saw him a bunch of years, and he kind of, remember, he was just standing there, and those Rickenbackers are like 5,000 pounds, man. So him trying to hold that thing up, and the dude I'm thinking about is Toby Keith, which is well-known country dude. Yeah, but he's fighting stomach cancer. So,
to go into Lemmy really fast, just like short, silly story, but the second time, because Lemmy did some festival in Pinellas at one time, Pinellas Park, Florida, actually. Ed, you might remember this because they were rehearsing over at Boomers, which was an old venue. But the first time I met Lemmy was when I went to NAMM with this magazine I was working with. And I went to the Rainbow Bar and Grill that night, right? So there comes Ron Jeremy, the porn star, walking out. Next is Lemmy, because he lived right by the place. I mean, you couldn't.
They had a statue there.
Yeah, his statue's there now, but this was, I remember just being like, holy shit. The Rainbow, because as a kid you read about the Rainbow, everybody knows about the Rainbow growing up, and there's Lemmy walking out the door. It's like, it's just, I mean, it's perfect. But we guys, again, we really appreciate you coming on. David, like I said, you every guy think you got to promote. You got to open door here. So
thank you, Tony.
And
appreciate
it. I said, and we will say farewell when we hang up. But Ed, anything else you want to say, man? First of all, where do you find us at? What, Spotify, Apple Podcasts,
Music, Amazon,
YouTube,
YouTube, everywhere, man. Everywhere that you can get. I think anywhere you can get podcasting. And
we got Blaine from The Accused coming on Thursday.
Man, I am looking forward to that one, man.
Yeah, we got
and is it all audio, or do you also release the video?
We do audio. So eventually we may do some video. My whole thing is that when I was growing up in Jersey, I used to listen to a lot of college metal radio, and I like that whole underground feel, like the old audio, like, like these shows, like I want it to be where in 20 years you can come back and listen to these shows and you can like learn about bands, and it'll still be relevant. We try to like do that old 80s thing in a way because we all grew up in that whole thing. So I'm not saying we won't do video right now.
Well, we record. The audio is recorded. So
yes, we only release the audio.
We can always release it like this later if we become Joe Rogan.
Yeah,
I don't anticipate that, but you never know.
No one wants to see me and Ed's faces, so we know that.
Yeah,
no one wants to see our faces.
So
we're like
two fucking old hags.
Nah.
Yeah, but right now we're doing the only audio. Only the audio right now. So it's like eventually we may go to that route. We're trying to get we got some shit we're working on. We kind of just like fly by the whatever you call it, but that's why I felt bad for David. I got a hold of David like a couple of days ago, like real close to the show, and I was like, hey dude, if you want to come on, because I was actually checking you guys out, and I was like, I should have him come on. I just wanted to make sure that we were doing it today and stuff, because like I said, we are like spur of the moment sometimes, so we really appreciate you making the time.
We had three podcasts this week, so we had
Three.
Lord Ormond from Dark Funeral, and then we had
I heard that one.
Local guys that has a
toy store,
a collector store. Man, this guy's got. I mean, I could have talked to that guy for 12 hours.
Yeah, it's over in Tampa. It's all like metal posters, records, toys. Brandon, it's got what? It's got just everything.
He's got everything. Eclectic. Yeah. If you want eclectic music, movies, toys, that's your guy, man. VNC Collectibles. He's also in a killer death metal band called Grave Rot. If you like Entombed, you like Dismember sound, that Swedish death metal guitar tone. These dudes, I mean, they pull it off pretty fucking good. Plus, the dudes in the band are killer, so that helps too.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, like I said, guys, we appreciate it. Everyone who listens, we appreciate it. We will be back Thursday with Blaine from The Accused, The Farts, The Accused AD, and a bunch more bands he has played.
Dude, I'm drawing a blank. I'm drawing a blank on the band that he did with
10 Minute?
Oh, yeah,
Denial Fiend. Denial Fiend he was with,
yeah.
Denial Fiend he was with.
I could not think of that. Yep.
Yep, and you don't even smoke pot, man. But
I got a lot of shit going on in this head, bro.
Exactly. But we thank everyone who listens. We thank everyone who came on the show tonight. Like I said, David, Eric, we really appreciate it.
Much.
And Yeah,
thank you
so
guys.
much,
else.
guys.
And I hope to see you guys this weekend, man, because he ain't
Oh,
flying.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Please do
I'm,
come up and introduce yourself.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's a
You're
bit of a
it's in
flight.
Europe. Where exactly again?
I'm in Lithuania right now, man. I live
Lithuania.
I live part of the year in St. Petersburg. I have 2 daughters and a wife here, and we go back and forth. So we live. My wife is actually a child surgeon here, so
Oh,
you know,
okay.
and they're in school right now. My little daughter, so we spend a majority of the time here, and then we try to go back whenever we can. We have a place in St. Pete, so it's it's hard because we like with the bands in St. Pete. So we're definitely gonna be back. We're gonna do some shows and stuff. So I'm trying to get it all figured out, but yeah, we're Eastern Europe, so right now we have like some beautiful weather. But as I always say, the cold is coming, so you guys in Florida won't have to deal with it like we deal with it here. It's going to be
Oh, yeah.
pretty dark and cold coming up. But
That's when you get to miss Florida.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
What is it?
exactly.
What
when you
does
miss
fall mean? What does fall mean in Florida?
not a fucking thing.
Absolutely nothing.
Exactly.
Exactly. Just the palmetto bugs get bigger. But,
Exactly.
yeah, man. Thanks to everybody. Everybody check out Faethom. They have a new record coming out. I'll try to say this again. Chaosmorphogoria.
That's it.
There you go. See, but yeah.
And
we'll
make sure
see
you
guys.
hit the Metal Fest. 3 days: Thursday, Friday,
3 days.
Saturday.
And if you join our YouTube page,
your fucking
subscribe. I
scene.
guess that's the thing you got to do. So, but for everybody, this is the Tampa Morgue, and we will talk to you Thursday.
See you.
Peace.